I'm going to continue on with the moon across the zodiac series, and we are with the moon in Aries. If you are watching right now, the moon is conjuncting Jupiter, which is just a lovely mood, expanded mood. So this series is about the moon in each and every zodiac sign or constellation. The moon crosses each sign for about 2.5 days, so it's quite quick. In comparison, the sign ruling Aries is Mars, and it takes about 2.5 years to surround the zodiac. The moon takes 28 days, around 28 days. Um, so the moon is waning right now, so it is decreasing. Very good time to wish upon the moon of whatever you would like to decrease. Although it is conjuncting Jupiter, and that is very interesting because Jupiter magnifies and it is retrograde. But this is what's happening right now. The video is in general moon in Aries, natal or transit. So the moon rules the way we self-nourish our emotional, psychological needs, part of the way that we relate or attach to things and people and ideas. Um, it is cool and moist, and in the sign of Aries, it receives the sort of environment, it absorbs from the environment what Aries has to give. Aries is a Mars-ruled sign. It rules the head, it rules the first, it rules the spring, it rules something new, so innovation, initiation. It rules explosive power, that is the type of power or the type of muscles that explode, and you can do, if you do like sports or athletics, it's the type of practices where you can only do 3 or 4 reps, top reps with the drill because you're using explosive power. So moon in this environment, in this area, needs competition. It needs to be the first. It needs to be considered the top of something, the first at something special, unique, but special and unique in a competitive field, although Aries tends to compete with itself. Okay? It tends to compete with itself, and this is how it reaches the top, because it doesn't compete with anybody else. It has the mindset of success in that way. It doesn't try to imitate anybody else. It doesn't try to put itself against anybody else. It just does its own thing, its own unique thing. So acknowledging one's uniqueness in the sense of the native or the person who has the moon in Aries, acknowledging their own uniqueness and their own skills, what they are good at, what they keep on developing, is this is a very active sign. So it can be that even being physically active, or being a part of a certain competition, or playing games, also in terms of mental agility, intelligence, mental agility, to some extent memory, but some sort of a skill that is mental and physical, can do a lot to make the moon in Aries feel stable, or feel that it's getting what it needs in a certain environment or in a certain social group, depending on the house where it's at. With this moon, it's also important not just to be active, but also to rest. And rest can be aroused by arousing the nervous system. So if you find it difficult to sleep, then you can try to focus on something, count things, do calculations, It's the sound. It can be the sign of counting sheep in that way. Um, it is quick, and the quickness of Aries can be like the quickness of the moon. So the moon can find the common denominator within the Aries. It's the Mars ruled by its quickness, although it is not quick in the way that Mars is quick, and it is not as quick as Mars. It's way quicker than Mars actually. Um, so sleep, getting rest is something that does not go easy. You usually need to exhaust yourself first, mentally and physically. Great problem solvers, because they're very curious. Think about the curiosity of a child. They are fast learners, they're very curious, and they need to practice mental agility. So, exhausting yourself fully can be very helpful to get a good sleep. And you can see how, when you go across these moons and you see the moon in different signs, you see how for every person self nourishment looks completely different. Okay, to exhaust yourself in a physical activity or in a mental activity, um, so that you can sleep, is something that is so different from, meditating by the mountains and getting into yourself and the space between the thoughts. So Aries needs to be active. Think about a puppy. Okay, I think about dogs or a puppy. It needs a ton of exhaustion, physical and mental, or it will eat your house. Okay, that's the moon in Aries. In terms of relations, so to keep moon in Aries happy, it needs constant agility. So this is a moon that would do best with someone who arouses them mentally, who arouses them physically, that is okay with their rawness, because it's very raw. It's a very raw sign. It's a very young sign, a very initial sign. It's like the diamonds in the raw. And they will never become refined. This archetype can, of course, person can have many things, many, like Beyonce, she's a Virgo, but she has a stellium in Libra, so what she's been a Virgo about is Libra things, if you noticed. Um, but with the moon, just the moon in Aries, or just the planet in Aries, but for this matter, just the moon in Aries, to relate, it needs that constant arousal, problem solving, can be even sciencey things, mental challenges, and physical workout, or else it will seek drama. This is the sign that would either try, because Aries is not particularly, is not any more or less like prone to cheating or whatnot, but it does need the excitement of something new. It does need to feel the refreshing. It does need to feel. Think about a child. How do you keep a child interested in something? Okay, how do you keep a child's span of attention? So this, and when the moon is there, it's a psychological need. It is a need that it evokes emotional experiences. So if you're active with your either Aries child or Aries partner, and this activity is both, think about the game that requires you to both work with your body, even sometimes learning, if Venus is somehow aspected, learning dance choreography or a bit of martial arts that are for beginners, um, or something that you solve a problem, or you have a competitive game that is involving a certain sort of mental skill, a mental agility, or memory, or together with a physical skill. That is a must. Do not adopt an Aries partner or child, or pet. if you know the chart, but you don't always know the chart. You usually don't. Although sometimes you can, if it is a dog breed where you know when the pups were born, you could actually have the chart of your puppy. Um, but do understand that this is what it takes, and do not criticize or because when you try when you when in every sense the first sense of not being accepted, they can become very arrogant and down-putting, um, because that's just like this is where the sun exalts, okay, and they're very connected to their heart chakra, very connected. If it's not afflicted, in any way, the remedy is to connect with the heart chakra. The sun exalts in Aries. Okay, connect the heart and the mind. Be active, and know that this is who they are. This is very much the sign of this is who I am. You either take it or leave it. They're not going to go your way, not because it's beyond. Think about the pole. The other side is Libra, that can be a people pleaser, but have a lot of flexibility. It's a Venus rule sign. It has a lot of mental flexibility. Aries is hard-headed. But it can change his mind. It's not in the sense that it doesn't enjoy a good argument. It loves a good argument. It loves to be challenged. It really respects and appreciates people who don't think the same way, um, or don't feel the same way. It can feel belonging within people who have divergent opinions. This is something very perhaps unique to the moon in Aries. Think about the peoples. I think of the Iranian peoples, the fourth house in Aries in Iran, and Iranian people, which you probably won't meet in Iran, but unless you can somehow travel, but outside because they ran away from any regime that is oppressive, very known to be very open-minded. They can love their country, they can love their place of origin, but they love an argument. They love a good argument. They love to be around people who don't think the same way they do. Freedom of speech, of expression, liberation. This is a sign that can sometimes, because of Mars, and Mars in ancient traditions like Vedic traditions is sometimes even ruling words or sharp words. Okay, modern astrology, we used to think about Mercury as being verbal, or Venus, but also Mars. Not just when it's in Mercury, like right now, but these are people that, although they can be sensitive to harsh words, they can sometimes say harsh words. And that is where the people around them need to check if they're compatible with that, if they can be more forgiving, or set the boundary. um, and it's very important to be rational. It's ruling the head. This is the sign where if a child behaves in a way that is like, oh, you can sit with them, and if you manage to convince them logically that what they're doing is not only not in their best favor and also not in the best favor of humanity, they will either change the behavior or challenge your thinking or make you think twice about what you're trying to teach them, or they will do their best to see if they don't manage to change the behavior that they want to change, they will try to solve the problem. So now their problem is to make their character be different, be better. So now they are going to activate their own creativity about how to do that. But it is not a sign that you can, let's say if they said something mean or treated you badly, it's not a sign where you can treat them badly back in hope that they will change. No. But if you catch them and tell them, listen, this is not a behavior that I accept, or this hurts my feelings, this blah, 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 then they have no problem to change their mind, to fix themselves, to grow. So it is a sign that's very much like a child, but a very intelligent child that can do very stupid things, very impulsive things, but they always have a sort of a rational around them. And if you work with that rational and if you explain with the rational, the Aries child can be very much like I have Mercury in Aries, and my parents, when they discovered that, they're like, oh, they just explained it to everybody, all the school teachers, and I became from the person who was the bully of the school. Not that I bullied other people, but I bullied the teachers. To a person, to everyone, every teacher's favorite, because the minute they understood, oh, you can just explain to them. So if you have a moon in Aries, maybe you are the person to whom you can do or say something that people are like, what? This is crazy, but this is because you're innovative, and your thinking can be a bit not the way other people think. You want to think in the way that is new or different to your surroundings, and if they can explain to you a rationale that you agree with, sometimes this is all they have to do, even when you are a child. So Aries moon can Aries placements, but also Aries moon can sometimes face a world that thinks that they're a bully, that they are selfish, that they are maybe even narcissistic. I know now in the past the problem was that nobody knew what gaslighting is. Now that everybody know what it is, they might be mistaken for a person who is like an overt narcissistic person, and it's not necessarily the case. They're not any more selfish than anybody else. They're just more honest, and they just don't have, because they are so raw, they don't have the refinement. You know, let's say a Libra could do the same thing, but they know how to hide it, they know how to refine it, and then, you know, they would not be scolded for what the Aries person would be scolded. Um, and this is also why they have to be a bit cautious, because just because they are honest and always want the favor of everybody else, but the way they want the favor is like, I think about what serves me. It's very much like a Kantian, Kantian morality. It's like I think about what is good for me, and I know that everybody is thinking about what is good for them. So if when I'm thinking about what is good for me, I want everybody to have, the ability to compete, the ability to be the first. I want everybody to have sovereignty. I want everybody to have autonomy. These are big words. Sovereignty, autonomy, and emotional. When it's the moon, it is an emotional need. So if this person is growing in a society that is more communal, they might even consider to move to another place or to another culture where they are accepted, where being different or being competitive or being the best competing with you, and if you compete with you and you happen to win, and you also by chance happen to win above many other people in your neighborhood or city or country, then it's not a bad thing. And if you're moon in Aries, you know that. But if you're in a culture that you're scolded for that, that can be a problem, and that can make you want to actually try a new place to live in, try a new relationship. Um, but it is very, because Aries is also quite hard-headed, they're very much likely to come to a conclusion that this is who I am, this is what triggers my, bad qualities, this is what triggers my good qualities. I want an environment and a relationship and a profession, wherever, the house that the moon is, that triggers the best me. And I'm aware of what I need to do if you self-nourish to kind of tame those qualities that can be impulsive, that can be, like everybody tamed their qualities. But with Aries, it's external, it's young, it's the first, it's a baby. You can't, you usually with this placement, you're not going to be able to hide your feelings unless it's aspected, I don't know, or it's found in a hidden house, or it's aspected by a planet in a hidden house, or aspected by Pluto. It's going to be very difficult for you to hide who you are, but you're also not very likely to want to hide who you are. Um, and that is when this is natal. When we have the moon in Aries as a transit, you can feel more emotionally competitive. And emotionally competitive does not mean that you run into emotional dramas. It just means that your emotional nature or your psychological nature, if the moon is well aspected, is supportive of um, an, having a good argument, changing the thoughts, coming up with an initiation, being active, um, and practice some skill that contributes to your mental agility, explaining something in a new way, teaching something in a new way, because it loves to study, it also loves to teach. Not like Jupiter, but more like sharing new ideas is something that can be very a form of self-care, a form of a way to connect. Um, and this is also a time where you would need your own autonomy. You would need to take the time to take the space sometime, so that you wouldn't be, enraged at anyone. Even, even a good time to, if you don't have to drive, unless you're driving in a quiet place where you just go ahead and relax, don't do it. Um, it's just 2.5 days, and they can be very active days. Depending on your natal placement of the moon, you can be more or less agitated by it, but you can also feel very warm hearted. The sun exalts there. Very hospitable, very sociable, loving different cultures, different point of views, um, loving to be active, and that's a great way to support yourself. Go there. So that was Aries moon in natal and transit locations. I'm Tali here on Twitter, Shirley Youngblood on Instagram. I do readings. You're gonna have to DM me for that. And wish you a wonderful Aries moon day. Bye bye.